So let's go ahead and crank it out. Darnnelle, listen, I'm so proud to have you in our accelerator. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and also about Nordia, as well as the business that you both currently run?
Okay, so I actually got into, I guess you would say, the cannabis industry back in 2013 after injuring myself in my first deployment in Afghanistan. I didn't necessarily want to take the prescribed medication that they was giving out because at that time it was a lot of addiction due to the opioids that they were prescribing. So my wife actually looked into like alternate means of, I guess you would say, medications that's not that addictive. So she came across CBD. We started using that with me once I returned from Afghan. I'm a fan and a big advocate of it. So I want to say I was using that for about 2, maybe 3 years before I decided to start my own company. So I started small, like any other small business would do. I started with just like local friends, family members, other service members, and then got good feedback from that. So after that, I decided to start my own CBD company called Pure Natural Vibes. Right now, I've only done retail sales, so the product's only available online. I'm inside of a small couple of stores in my area. From New Jersey. I'm in Essex County, Orange, to be exact.
Wow, thanks a lot, Darnnelle. I mean, and so we understand too. There are really sensitivities with applying for a cannabis license, especially when you're currently serving and everything. And I know you've considered that. And you've discussed it with leadership. And can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so initially when uh, it was brought to light that I actually started the company, so I actually transitioned from the Army to the Air Force in 2016. So a few people knew about it when I switched over to the Air Force. Some people was for, some people was against it. You had a lot of people saying like, "Oh, well, it's gonna, get you high and everything like that." So I was almost like an advocate per se for THC free CBD because that's what I was supplying. That's what I was using myself. I've taken countless urinalysis in between the military and then my civilian job. Always came back negative. Um, so I wouldn't necessarily that say my leadership was like against it 100%. They just told me, to swear on the side of caution, be careful what I consume, stuff like that, to ensure I wouldn't have like a negative count against me for testing positive for THC. So I wouldn't say they gave me a hard time with it, but they definitely told me to swear on the side of caution.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, I mean, I think it shows an incredible amount of bravery on your part. And it's just so ironic that we are of this community that, you know, that society respects and thinks so highly of. However, we are judged by, the contents of our urine, and what medicine we choose to use. And it's really unfortunate. And I'm just so glad for you thinking, on behalf of other military personnel and soldiers and veterans, um, about what the potential of this medicine is. So now you're going to be pursuing a license in your home state of New Jersey to legally dispense or cannabis for adult use. How does that feel? What does that mean to you? In terms of your background and growing up and understanding how cannabis laws have been applied across the country, and especially in New Jersey. What is that? How does that feel for you?
So I had decided to enter the the industry, like after it was made announced that it was coming to New Jersey as far as medicinal use, medical use. So I was all for it. I was pro medical cannabis. Later on down the line, just recently, this past election, the vote was done. So state residents of New Jersey voted almost 70% to make it legal for recreational use. I was all for it. I was all for it for multiple reasons. Once they decided to make it available to personnel for recreational use, because you have a lot of people that's a little skeptical about doing the medical marijuana process because they would have to divulge their personal information, and then they're worried about the employers finding out that they're consuming it. So there was like a lot of I guess, like I said, negative stigma behind it. Then when it became available, well, soon to be available for recreational, I felt like it became like a more positive, more acceptable thing to do. So a little bit more discreet. You almost don't have to give out any personal information to obtain it once it becomes legal recreational. I was definitely for it once they decided to rectify some of the harm that they've done to people in the past due to marijuana. So in my civilian career, I've seen people been incarcerated from anywhere from a year to 7 years for what I would consider very minute amounts of marijuana. I had family members that were incarcerated for possession of marijuana. Um, Certain charges like that, they're sort of hard to bounce back from. You'll have this offense on your record, and then when even if it was something like you consumed it, and then just so happened it was caught in possession of it, and now you have a criminal record. A lot of employers um, didn't really view you as a viable candidate to work for them in essence. So it's like the new cannabis policy that they have now in place with New Jersey, I feel like it's in the right direction to undo some of the harm that they've done to a lot of New Jersey residents, particularly in the larger minority cities. Like I said, I'm from Essex County, so the larger minority cities in Essex County, you have the city of Newark, the city of Orange, the city of East Orange. Those cities, in my opinion, are cities that seem to be targeted directly for marijuana and any controlled substance, while other communities in the suburbs were never targeted at all. The arrest rates for those suburban areas were atrociously low compared to the minority areas. So sort of happy that they're trying to make it to the point where individuals in minority areas have the opportunity to ascertain a certificate to even be part of the industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of an assault on freedoms in America, the prohibition of cannabis and what has happened with it. As you know, Dr. Michelle Alexander, she wrote a book called The New Jim Crow, and talked about the prohibition of cannabis being the worst U.S. policy since slavery, and essentially tantamount to the same thing. So we've seen it used as a tool of oppression for a very long time. And we are certainly happy to see this coming to New Jersey and being available and presenting an opportunity to positively impact communities that were directly harmed by cannabis. Tell us about where you're from and where you're looking at establishing a cannabis business and what impact you think you'll have on that community.
So, like I said, I'm from New Jersey. I was born in Newark, University Hospital. That's now known as Rutgers University Hospital in Newark. I've lived in Newark for just about my whole life, all the way up until high school. Got out of high school, moved to a couple other cities. I came back to Newark, then I moved to Orange, New Jersey, where I met my wife. So me and my wife have been married now for 11 years. I have 3 sons, a daughter. So I'm definitely family oriented, all for the betterment of the community. Once I got hired in my civilian career in law enforcement, I actually went ahead and volunteered as a non-paid mentor at a foundation called the Essex County Cops for Kids. There was a lot of, still is to today, it is what it is, but it is still today. There's a lot of distance between the community and law enforcement. And once I got into law enforcement, I always told myself I wanted to be, the officer that, kids could actually approach and not have to worry about if I was trying to arrest them or try to arrest their parents, anything like that. I've been a part of this nonprofit organization since it started. In its inception, we only had 20 kids. Now the program's grown to over 120 plus kids. We every volunteer from myself to the director of the program, my partner now retired, Armando Vilas. Like once again, we're unpaid volunteers. So I've always said that the individual that's truly trying to give back to the community is the individual that's willing to do it at no financial gain to themselves. So I don't accept a dollar. We don't collect a dollar. We volunteer solely out of kind of our hearts because we want to see our community do better than what it's currently doing now. So it's like I have definitely advocated for anything that's going to better the community to be a part of the community. So, like for instance, inside of my plan, the plan and my business plan that me and my wife drafted, um, we have a community relations section where the plan varies from offering anything from scholarships for agriculture, business. And there was another one I just can't simply remember off the top of my head. I apologize, but we had three different categories that pertain to being an entrepreneur yourself. I've seen numerous programs where they say come with us and we'll show you everything you need to do. I actually participated in one, and at the end of the month, I was like, I really didn't learn anything. So with the program that me and my wife came up with, it's more so you're actually being involved with a member within the organization one on one. That sit down in this classroom, look through this PowerPoint, and just take notes. It's more your hands on with us. So I don't know everything there is to know about business, but I've taken business courses at my community college, Access County Community College. Once I decided to venture into being an entrepreneur, so from the aspect of what I was taught and what was applied, what I found work could definitely be passed on to another individual. My wife's like a genius when it comes to words in general. So, like majority of the letters that are drafted and submitted to local council members on our behalf of the company, my wife's drafted on her own with very little input or editing from myself or anyone else who's proofread the letter prior to sending. I want to say honestly, 90% of the business plan is drafted by my wife, solely by my wife, but very little to no editing needed from myself or anyone else that we trusted with reviewing it. So I'm definitely, like I said, I'm definitely family oriented. I'm definitely pro community. I try to do as much as I possibly can for the community. During the pandemic, I don't mean to get off topic, but I apologize for that. But even during the pandemic, I donated a little over $15,000 worth of PPE from the mask that everyone was wearing, hand sanitizer, um, stuff like that throughout my county. I've reached out to organizations such as the YMCA, East Orange, Orange Municipal, Roselle Park Fire and Rescue, South Orange Fire and Rescue, just to name a few off the top of my head. A couple of car dealerships, car washes. So like I said, I'm all for giving back to the community to help out the best as I can with the resources that I have. So that's what I can only try to do what I can do from the limit from what I have. I just recently, well, my wife just recently, I'm deployed, so I wasn't there personally, but on the behalf of the company, my wife actually paid for two kids to um, do Urban Team Golden's Night football program through the summer. And it started off with someone just simply posting something on Facebook. And, like she's seen a couple of people wanted to do it, but during the pandemic, people lost their jobs. Some people are not financially stable, and my wife simply decided to do her own. To say, hey, I think we should pay for at least two kids to go to the program. And I was like, you know what, I'm all for it. Like especially if it's something that a kid wants to do. It takes them off the street, so this way they don't have to worry about them being involved with the wrong people, getting into the cars that they shouldn't have gotten in to find out that they're stolen. So now, this individual gets arrested and they get arrested for, receiving stolen property. Now they have a record for the rest of their lives. And like I said, I was all for it. So but we try to do, the best we can with what we have to help others.
Yeah, absolutely, Darnell. I mean, I can tell that you look at this as kind of a duty, as a responsibility that you have towards your community and your state, and I mean that really shines through. And so, I mean, that leads me to ask, what do you think from your military experience you'll be able to do this, and how has your military experience really shaped you and your lens through which you look at this, and how's your experience going to add to your application and your ability to run a business?
I'm okay. Anyone who's ever come across me or met me or had a conversation with me, I've always been pro military. I always felt like um, the military could actually provide you with some type of structure. You have some people that possibly lack the self motivation to do for themselves or be independent. Like I said, I joined the army first. I did 6 years in the army as a military policeman, deployed to Afghanistan, and I could truly say, had I not joined the army, a lot of uh, decisions I've made probably wouldn't have been the best for myself. Probably wouldn't have been the best for my family. The military in general has definitely put me in a position to be a better individual, better leader than I probably would have been without them. It gives you the ability to actually think outside the box instead of being one-dimensional thinking. Um, you also have the ability through different leadership courses like warrior leadership, WLS, or airman leadership, ALS, or NCOA. Those types of leadership courses actually give you the fundamental building blocks of how to be a better leader, how to motivate people to do something they may not necessarily want to do at that time. So it's like the military aspect is definitely a plus, because it gives you the ability to lead people. To be successful in anything, you have to be able to lead people. You have to be able to motivate people. You have to be able to have people that actually want to, do stuff for you, work with you. If they have to, go out their way and give the extra mile, as opposed to saying like, oh, you know what, he or she doesn't really care about me. I'm not doing this extra thing. He or she could go screw themselves. Like I said, I found that being in the military gave me the ability to actually lead others, from even before getting into law enforcement. After the military, I had the privilege of actually being a manager at Strauss Discount Auto, prior to them closing down during my first deployment. And I can honestly say that there wasn't an employee who didn't want to come to work. When I called them in and asked them if they could come in and do me a favor, come in due to being short staffed or someone calling out. And I can say, seeing that, I've seen others um, make an attempt to get people calling in, and it just doesn't work out well because anyone can have a title. I always tell people that over and over. Anyone can have a title, all right? But the title itself doesn't make you the person people want to see. Okay, it's the person you are that makes people want to see you, not your title.
Wow, that's really compelling, Darnell. And what I also find really compelling and encouraging, and it gives me a great deal of confidence in the success of your endeavor, is your wife, Noria, who, I mean, being a military spouse, that's a special type of person. I live with one, right? And I know so many of them, and they are special types of women who really have it together. And tell us, in your words, a little bit about Nordia and kind of what she brings to the whole thing. So, talk about your wife, who you haven't seen for a while because you're deployed, and
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about her?
Yeah, so it may sound cheesy, but like I'll actually tell you like how I met my wife. So I came back from the military course, and she actually had a flat tire. So I was driving and I was like, you know what, let me. I wasn't really doing anything, so I said, let me stop and give her a hand. So that's exactly what I did. Her father, by trade, is actually a mechanic and owned a shop and everything like that. So I pulled over and said, let me help you or whatever like that. And she was like, oh, it's okay. My dad's a mechanic. He's on his way. And I said, you know what, let me start it. If he gets here before I finish, he could finish it. If I'm done before he gets there, he could check it, give it his blessing, and we'll be about our way. And she was like, okay, cool, no problem. So just so happened I was done before Dad got there. And then, he checked and everything like that. I was like, oh, thanks a lot, appreciate it. And then we exchanged numbers or whatever. And then our first day, I still remember our first date, we actually went to Livingston Mall and went to Cinnabon, and from like that day, I was like, you know what, I think she's the one, and we were together 8 months prior to us getting married, and ever since, like I feel like she's awesome. Like I know every married man says that about his wife, but like I truly feel like there's a lot of stuff I couldn't do um, without her support. Like I said, like I wear a lot of hats, and it's like there's been times where I had my youth program and it was something important that I had to do, and I would get off of work and come home and have to jump in the shower and get dressed and leave right back out. And some of these events, I probably wouldn't have made it on time if it wasn't for her, getting my uniform out, getting my suit out, pressing my shirt. Even when I came back from my first appointment in Afghan and started going to school. I had to worry about school. I still was in the service. I had a part-time job, so like she helped me with a lot of stuff. And like without her, a lot of the things that I accomplished wouldn't be so because I've went and had the necessary support system. I would say without her helping me. So it's like she's like the backbone. Like if without her, like I said, I'll probably be regular Joe Smo on the street, like the everyday person.
Hey, that's a really beautiful testament, and I feel you, and I feel the love and support there, and it's just a really beautiful cannabis story. And you did a great job by getting dad approval up front. That was that was a very nice move. Tell me about your buddies. I mean, we fight for those who are left and right of us, and I bet you some of your buddies are really rooting for you.
Yeah, so like I can honestly say like for like I had a great group of NCOs when I first joined the army. They definitely helped mold me and set me up for success. Like we had a saying back at my unit, teach me to lead so I can succeed. So they definitely did that. So every step of the way in my army career, all I did was excel, 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 excel. And so, I'll name a couple of NCOs off the top of my head that I really, appreciate their help. You had Sergeant First Class Christopher Richardson, Sergeant First Class Anthony Evans, Sergeant First Class Timothy Jones, Sean McGoonan, Sergeant Schuster Ferguson, Sergeant Eddie Sperling, Sergeant Figueroa. Like I said, I had definitely had a great set of NCOs to help me in my Army career. Now that I switched over to the Air Force, I have great NCOs that helped me along the way. Like a lot of people don't know, like when you switch from one branch to another, it's like almost like a shock because the tactics and technique that you learn in one branch may not be so in another. So that's how it was when I switched over to the Air Force. So when I switched over to the Air Force, once again, I had another great set of NCOs. I had Technical Sergeant Dwayne Lee, Technical Sergeant Stephanie Blanco, Technical Sergeant Crawford, Texas Sergeant Welton, Cologne. Like I definitely have a lot of great NCOs that surround me. They all support me. They never gave me the side eye whenever I mentioned my company or my youth program. They always offered their personal opinion, regardless if I liked it or not. And the way I look at it is, if you're around people who give you their honest opinion or their honest answer to something, those are the people that are truly your friends. Those are the people that are truly your support staff. They're not just going to simply tell you something you want to hear. There was different dynamics of, my youth program that, I mentioned. It was like, oh, you probably should try this. And I'm thinking about something, you know what? And I truly didn't think of that. Like, you know what? I appreciate that. And then there's times where, I would say I was going to do something in general, and they told me the truth. Like, you know what? Like, that may not be the best course of action. Maybe you should do this first, and then go ahead and do this. And like I said, I appreciate it. I have a lot of support staff from my old Army unit, from the 505P company, in the Army, to now to security forces personnel, that they all root for me, all cheer for me, always asking me updates and stuff like that. They think like I'm a guru, and I try to tell them nah. I just I just tend to read. So it's like when they ask questions, I'm like, well, I'll tell you what I read. I don't really know if this helps you, but I can tell you what I read, and I just point you in that direction.
I
I read
bet
it.
more than I'm sure folks are asking you for jobs in the future, because I see this as a huge potential for employment. It's one of the things I try to get the Department of Defense to come around to, is that we should be allowing and encouraging and paying for our military personnel to come into this industry. I mean, this is the nation's fastest growing industry, and the fact that you're able to watch training videos on a particular training path and read through and download all the information off of CHT. Have you benefited in terms of your feeling in terms of preparation for employment and working in the industry so far through what we've been up to?
Absolutely. So I first got the information from what was provided me from CHT. Like I said, I don't have the best access to the internet, so when I do, I try to make and take full advantage of it. So I literally like jumped on it the first chance I got, and like if I had to put a number on it from simply what I've learned from the information that was provided to me from you guys, I would put it on the scale of, one being the lowest and 10 being the highest. I would definitely rate it at 11, because there was a lot of stuff that I truly didn't think about. I'm like, well, you know what? That sort of makes sense. Like, why did I think of that? But it was like perfect. My wife also had the opportunity to review the information, and like when I'm able to connect to the Wi-Fi, depending on where I'm at, I'm able to receive text messages. So like I'll get to a location and connect to Wi-Fi, and then next thing you know, I got like, for my wife, I got like 15, 20, text messages saying like, oh, I just found this out. Oh, I just found this out. Just found this out. So it's like I'm playing catch up to like a chain, a chain of text messages, and I'm trying to make sure I respond to all of them, while I still had Wi-Fi. And, but yes, it's definitely definitely helped me a lot. Definitely, I will say that I will recommend it to anyone that's actually looking to get into it. If if they truly want to get into it and be successful, I would definitely recommend it.
Cool, man. Well, hey, look, it's still evolving. The CHT platform is just going to continue to grow and evolve based on your needs, and the needs of others who are in it, and we're just going to try to make it better and better and better. What our attempt right here is to really direct this in a manner where we can impact directly the social equity within the cannabis industry in the state of New Jersey, because we believe that New Jersey has set forth a set of rules that are really empowering, and really the most social equity and economic equity focused rules that we have seen across the country. And so we found it very exemplary. We hope that New York is watching closely and takes lessons from it and tries to even go beyond it. Um, but it's unique. And what do you think of yourself after you're licensed and you're operating one dispensary? What's next for you? What's your vision of the future and your position in the cannabis industry?
So like within the my business plan, I actually I didn't necessarily, man, well, all right, so like I said, I got into CBD because I hurt myself in Afghanistan, right? Um, so I ended up hurting my back and my left knee. I had tears on my left meniscus, okay? This isn't necessarily that I'm gonna get a surgery because the meniscus surgery is hit or miss, all right? I had a lot of pain in my knee, I had a lot of pain in my back. But like I said, during that time, I didn't want to get stuck and hooked onto opioids because it seemed like everybody that was doing it got they got hooked on them. I have friends who sustained injuries during deployments, and they got prescribed Percocets, and yeah, it is what it is. They're hooked. Like they can't go a day without it, and I didn't want to succumb to that. Then I kept saying to myself over and over, like how can I help, friends, and how can I help people in the future, i.e., other service members who might have sustained injuries throughout their military career, without them have the fear of retaliation. So that's what I tried to do. So you have a lot of service members, to include myself, that suffer from PSD. And a lot of people don't even know what PSD is. A lot of people think that some people have PTSD and they just automatically assume like all of us are crazy. That's not the case. So you have different levels of PTSD. So to give an example, during my last deployment in Afghanistan, we lost an individual, and it is what it is. Some deployments you lose people, and some deployments you don't. Unfortunately, I was on a deployment in which we lost someone. So, do I think about it? Absolutely, I think about it. When do I think about it? I think about it every December. Why do I think about it every December? Because in fact, the gentleman that we lost on Christmas Eve. We all sat down, we all had this big plan to get together, do one big Zoom, do one family at a time, and say happy holidays. But guess what? It didn't work out because we lost someone. So I think about it all the time. We, had to respond to a vehicle bomb that blew up, and we lost a couple of service members, and we lost a couple of civilian contractors. So I get to the scene, and like literally, it looked like a scene in a movie. Like I was like, wait a minute, this is like so much destruction. There's there's limbs everywhere. And to this day, do it bothers me? Do it affect me? Absolutely. So when I smell diesel fuel, that's the first thing that pops in my head. That's the first thing that pops in my head. I'll pause for a second or whatever like that. It'll go through my mind, and then I'll keep going. So once I once I start using CBD, I actually start using it for, like I said, for pain. Then my wife doing more research and everything like that. But I was like, wait a minute, you could possibly use it for PTSD and sleep issues. Like I said, I'm not a I say well, I was able to go to sleep without a problem. A little bit skeptical about everybody, so like that dropped drastically. So once we looked into it and realized there were other service members who sought out different treatments for PTSD and wasn't allowed to consume cannabis, then I'm thinking to myself like that's not really fair. Like if an individual wants to use a alternate means of medication, and it could be tracked and monitored, why not let them use it? Then I've gotten statements from people like, oh well, if the member uses it, they're going to get addicted. And I'm thinking to myself like, well, that sort of doesn't make any sense because you prescribe my Percocets like they're Skittles. I could walk into any military VA right now and tell them that I'm still having an injury for my back and my knee, and the first thing I'm going to do is give me Percocets. All right. Then next thing you know, now I'm hooked. Now instead of me taking the Percocets because in fact I'm in pain, I'm taking the Percocets because in fact I want the high. A lot of people think that, oh, every form of weed gets you high. That's not the case. There's some weeds that they're very low in THC. Yes, you're going to feel a very nice and relaxed feeling, but guess what? You're not going to be high. You're not going to be walking around here like you don't know what's going on. So that's why I try to bridge that gap for a lot of people that have come across both, my civilian career and both my military career. So like within our business plan, we're actually trying to, start. Of course, you got to start from somewhere, and then eventually expand to the point it's possible to maybe even work with the VA that's located within my county, which is in East Orange, New Jersey. Possibly work with the VA and like, hey, let's try to do a small study. Let's do a small trial. I'll provide the cannabis at no charge for you guys to do a small trial to see if it actually works for the service member. there's been reports galore that says it actually works, but I feel like there's no one that's really trying to go out there and invest into it to see if it actually works. Like I said, with me being a veteran and having an opportunity to help veterans, I'll do it. It doesn't bother me, man. If it helps another veteran stay off of being hooked on prescription painkillers, I'm all for it. So that's why within the business plan, that's why our goal was to do exactly that. Start small, build on top of it, seek out veterans who may be experiencing PTSD, that they don't know they're experiencing PTSD, or that they're afraid to admit that they're experiencing PTSD because in fact they don't want the stigma that's associated with PSD to be stuck to their name. So that's actually the goal of ours to start small and to move up.
Nice. I really like that. The good news is that the VA is now actively looking for creative ways to do research. You have examples in Michigan where they just released $12.5 million to do research within Michigan for veterans there. So it's happening. Another great connection within these communities would be your veteran service organizations. We work very closely with AMVETS. Charissa Jackson, who is an Air Force retired combat nurse, she's the chief medical executive there. I can't wait to introduce you to Charissa, so she can share with you what AMVETS is up to and kind of the advances that are being made. But I certainly think that it is the veteran voice that will eventually break the back of prohibition. I think that the re-legalization and the normalization of this plant is going to be a betterment for society if we can implement it in the right way. Especially in the military context. Darnnelle, very well as a non-commissioned officer, one of the biggest difficulties within our ranks is alcohol abuse and issues of that nature. It's associated with domestic violence. It's associated with DUIs and all things of that nature.
It's funny that you say that because
Yeah.
I had read an article that where it actually showed that cannabis helped the dependency on alcohol, which then reduces the alcoholism. Reduces the risk of someone drinking and driving, reduces the risk of someone having what they consider, beer courage and domestic violence and aggravated assaults. That's why, like, I was like, this, in my opinion, it was a no-brainer. I'm thinking to myself, like, if this, could do so much great with very, very little risk to it, well, why not? If I had it my way, it would be like on every installation there was. If I had it my way, let them use
It
it
will
on their
happen.
day. Let them use it on their day off. You can monitor it. You could the same thing every state does. They track and see how much you buy and they make sure like you're not trying to be some underground, drug lord or whatever like that. So it's like I said, it has so many different benefits to it. It's just like you have some people that just a little hesitant about it.
Yeah, absolutely. But as normalization takes place and federal legalization one day takes place, we'll no longer have to treat the plant like it's plutonium, but really treat it like the opportunity that it is. And listen, I am just so excited to have a professional like you moving into this industry. We can't wait for the opportunity to meet Nordia face to face as well. And I want you to stay safe, and continue to do your mission that you're currently on honorably. And we are thinking about you all the time. I want you to know that. And are there any final parting words that you'd like to share with us?
I will definitely say thank you for all the assistance that you guys are providing. Definitely for service members, definitely for veterans. I definitely believe that this particular industry moving inside of the state of New Jersey could be beneficial to the masses, opposed to just small individuals. Um, just like everybody else that's a small business owner, I'm just hoping that they actually give small people such as myself and others a true opportunity to enter the industry. So this way we can make an impact on the communities in which we live in, as opposed to someone coming from the outside and doing the very bare minimum. I've seen companies do that. You'll see companies, bigger companies, um, come into an urban community and they get like all these tax breaks. Like I don't want to name a particular company because my civilian employer has a contract with them, but it's just astonishing to me how like they get all these tax breaks, and then when you try to figure out what they do for the community, it's the very bare minimum. Like it's sad, but like I said, I'm just hoping, moving forward that other individuals, such as myself, other small entrepreneurs get the fair shot to actually enter the industry. And I appreciate all you guys' help from stage to.
Hey, man, it is absolutely an honor to have you among us, and we wish you all the best. Get back quickly, safely, and please give our best to Nordia.
Absolutely.
All right, stay safe. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.